Welcome to Aries season, one of the biggest seasons of 2024. The end of March and April are massive periods of time in terms of the astrology. But in this video, what I want to discuss with you today is the lunar eclipse in Aries. So I'm going to bring the chart up on the screen so you can see that, and I show you what this one's all about. So firstly, we can see that it's at 5 degrees of Libra, and it's also attached there to the South Node. It's 10 degrees from the South Node, so that does qualify this as an eclipse. Usually it's roughly around 18 degrees when the sun is within 18 of either the North or the South Node. Any lunations, new or full moons that fall within that 18-degree range will be classified as an eclipse. So whenever we're looking at the polarity or the axis of Aries and Libra, we're always thinking about the me versus we dynamic. Relationships are a key part of the Aries-Libra axis. The sun in Aries is exalted in this sort of solo individuated sign of Aries. And then the moon is trying to balance things out in Libra, find compromise, consensus, and balance. So attached to the South Node, this lunation is real, this eclipse, I should probably call it, is really going to highlight themes of where dynamics in a particular relationship have got out of balance. So this could be personal, it could be professional, or you could also look to the houses of your birth chart that hold the axis of Aries and Libra. It could be your relationship to money, it could be your relationship to friends, hobbies, and things of that nature. So it doesn't have to be just relationships per se, but often it really does tend to signify that. So with this eclipse sort of backlighting the energy around relationships, you might get to this realization that things aren't working out the way they could be or should be. There might be some outdated patterns that need to be addressed. So this could be the patterns within a certain partnership, or it could also have, something to do with yourself. Um, the South Node here often is related to the idea of loss, of letting go and emptying out. And while that's also true, I think it's also really important to recognize you can't empty out something that has not been filled. So the idea of rejection, turning away from or letting go of is also part of this. It's almost like Christmas dinner or any other type of celebration where you've really had your fill and you have to say, no, I've had enough. I can't eat anymore. Yes, the food is lovely and I might want more, but I physically can't have more. So the opposite of that is the North Node, that is that hunger point, that ravenous point, whereas the focus on this particular eclipse is on the South Node. And where have you had your fill with something? When we look at the ruler of the eclipse, it is Venus in Pisces. So essentially, we have a very strong lunation or an eclipse ruler. She is exalted. She's sitting at 16 degrees of Pisces. And of course, Pisces is Venus's favorite sign or one of her favorite signs. You can also see that she's just passed a conjunction with Saturn. So it's almost like she's separating away or she's moving from some kind of limitation, some type of contract or commitment or responsibility. She's had something difficult or challenging, something she's had to overcome, and now she's moved away from it. So that's sort of the energy that the eclipse is bringing through. The ruler of anything is going to really have the final say on anything, if you like. And so this is like a double signature of letting go of something, saying goodbye to something, or maybe just saying you've had enough. It might be about that too. So, with Venus empowered in her sign of exaltation, she is in a really good position to do that. So, if you're trying to state your case with something, or if you're trying to bring changes into a relationship dynamic or a certain situation in your life, this is really going to help you say no let something go, and move on. And it doesn't have to necessarily mean a separation or a departure from something, but the South Node is, anything that's nodal, particularly eclipses, is really going to churn up things. It's really going to turn things around and realize where things need to change, they need to evolve, and they need to grow in some ways. Eclipses do have the capacity to speed things up. Time feels different during this season. This is the first eclipse of this particular season. And when we're talking about the axis of relationships, Aries and Libra, it's attached to the South Node. Old patterns have to die. Old ways of relating have to be rearranged or let go of. And then an exalted Venus separated from Saturn and moving onwards. Um, I mean, many of you may not have seen this, but back in the day, Sex of the City was definitely a show that many people watched. And there was a particular scene in one of the episodes. I couldn't even begin to tell you what season or which one. It's a bit of a distant memory, but there was one scene where one of the characters, Samantha, sort of broke up with the guy and said, I love you, but I love me more. And this might be the choice that's required under this eclipse. And this eclipse, it's a full moon. So the idea of the South Node, a full moon, it's sort of like backlighting a situation. But you have to have a good look at it. Full moon is the moon in her best light, her strongest light, and she's shining light on something that you may have turned away from, turned a blind eye to, or not really recognized or seen thus far. So this is going to illuminate things. It's going to shine that spotlight on something. So I'm not going to lie, it is going to be a little bit of a challenging eclipse, particularly if you are in some relationship that might be in troubled waters, might be a little bit of a rocky patch, or you're just finding it hard to be on the same page with something. Libra does suffer when things are unjust, unfair, or out of balance. And so part of this is trying to get things back into balance. And this might be having to let go of some habits and patterns, standing up for yourself, with that conjunction that's just happened with Saturn, the line in the sand, and sort of stating, hey, this is where it is, and being prepared to walk away. And this is a rule of sales, right? The first who speaks loses. And so it might be having to state your case and then also being prepared to walk away from a situation if the other party isn't willing to find that balance point. So, this can also be helpful in a roundabout way if you are in a relationship. They all go through rough patches, rocky times, etc., etc. And that can be the realization that something needs to change, something needs to give, and something needs to be recalibrated. And this is an opportunity to do that. So, um, like troubled times don't last forever, but what they can really do is solidify partnership. People will be around you when the times are good, but it's when the times are not so good, it's when you find who your true friends are. And so sometimes, being prepared to walk away is what is required or necessary. So in the theme of relationships, if you are single and you're not wanting to be anymore, this can also be an invite to look at some of your inner habits and patterns and your inner beliefs around relationships, what holds you back, and what you may need to lean into in order to achieve that sort of togetherness that Libra does love. So to close up with Venus in Pisces, it's very much letting go of faults. Things don't have to be balanced in terms of 50-50, but they have to be a workable balance. And finding that defining point is going to help you. Venus in Pisces, she's exalted. She's in her most sublime version of connection and togetherness. And when we are trying to find fault, when we're trying to see everything that's wrong instead of everything that's right, when we're constantly looking for red flags, which is what everyone seems to be talking about these days, then yeah, you are going to find them. Seek and you shall find. But sometimes Venus in Pisces, she just wants to gloss over those things. And sometimes that is necessary. Sometimes you just have to turn the blind eye. Not every little issue has to be a problem. So there's a part of this lunation, not suggesting that you have to go and ignore real issues or ignore real problems, but there's a part of that, instead of seeing all the shoulds, you're also invited to see the coulds, what instead of what should be, what could be. And that's a part of it as well. So there's a lot more I could say about the eclipse and the energy that is presented under this. But if you want my best insights around the eclipse, it's the Golden Circle Club where everything is. And if you would like to join my astrology membership, get more videos, more insights, connection and community with other astrology enthusiasts, all the details are in the description below. And I'd love to see you on the inside. And so until next time, I hope you enjoy this eclipse energy.